Welcome to episode 182 of the XS Noize Podcast. I'm Mark Millar. Thanks for listening. In this episode, I speak to Gareth Dunlop about his highly anticipated third album, Welcome to the House of I Don't Know. If you missed the previous episode, I spoke to Bernard Butler about Good Grief, his first solo album in 25 years. So check it out, and if you like the podcast, please subscribe on your favourite listening platform, give us a rating, and leave a comment. Welcome to the House of I Don't Know invites listeners into the warm embrace of home, the cherished moments with loved ones, and the nostalgic echoes of days gone by. Departing in sound from his previous works, Dunlop elevates his narratives with a full band, rich production, and thrilling performances. In this interview, Gareth discusses the writing and recording of the album and lots more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the XS Noize Podcast with Gareth Dunlop. So hey Gareth, welcome back to the XS Noize Podcast.
Thanks for having me back on.
Absolute pleasure. So, you're about to release your third studio album, Welcome to the House of I Don't Know, in June. Did you go into the recording with any preconceived ideas, what you wanted it to sound like, and what kind of songs you wanted to write about?
I was kind of conscious. I didn't want to make the same record twice. The last one was kind of put together through lockdown, so I would say I played damn near everything on it. I moonlighted as my own drummer and, bass player and all that stuff. So I wanted to go into this record and get some friends in a room and make a racket and see what would happen and try to kind of avoid my own habits as much as possible and just really lean on like the guys around me and just go on gut reaction of is this feeling good, is this feeling right, and try to chase everybody's idea down the road as far as I could. So yeah, I think that was my only feeling on how I wanted to track it. And then writing for it, I mean, all my songs I'd say start the same way. It's me at a piano or at the guitar and, a blank piece of paper. So what happens after that's always a bit of an adventure, what way the songs kind of twist and turn. But yeah, I'd say with this one it was really just getting folks together in the room and just making a racket until it felt right.
And who else was involved in the making of the album?
It was Matt Weir on drums and production duties, Pete Wallace on guitar and production duties, and Cy Francis on bass and production duties. And yeah, we shared the production chair across the board, and it was a lot of fun.
It seems that these songs, on listening to the album, it seems that these songs were written with bigger venues in mind. Was that intentional?
I don't really know if that was it or if that was just sort of a byproduct of us all just hammering it out together and things just naturally kind of standing up a little bit taller. Yeah, I've never really thought about that. I mean, the last few years has been a lot of touring, either just myself or maybe a two-piece. So maybe there was a little bit of, kind of trying to present the songs in a way that was, unavoidably a band, and a bigger sound. I think, maybe unintentionally, that's what came out of it.
Say on listening to it, they definitely will, sound. It seemed more. Some of them seem more widescreen, which we'll get into, and a bit more epic.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, yeah, it's funny. I think that's maybe, almost playing some of the bigger venues. I've been really lucky to play, opening up for artists the last few years and kind of feeling out what works and having a little bit of time to try songs out and see what ones are kind of standing up and what, an audience is kind of reacting to. And, I think most of the time when you've only got 25, 30 minutes to open up for somebody, it'll let you know pretty quickly what's hitting the mark and what isn't.
Well, let's talk about some of the tracks. My favorite track on the album, and as far as I'm aware, it's going to be the next single released on the day of the album, is Just In Case. It's a song about living in the moment, which I think the way things is with modern day now, I think sometimes we just stop and just live in the moment. Is that what the song is about?
Very much so. It's something I need to remind myself of, a lot. But that's exactly what it's about. It's strange how it came about. I was sitting on the idea for it for a long time. It was born out of a conversation that my dad had with his brother, my late uncle, just towards the end of his life. And they were just shooting the breeze and talking about the good old days and the stuff that they got up to as kids, and crazy wild times and late nights and all that good stuff. And it was something that stuck with me. And as I say, I wasn't really. I knew that I wanted to write about it, but I wasn't sure how to unpack it and try to kind of build around the idea until I had a really, really late night here at home with Amy, my wife, and we sat into the wee hours, as you sometimes do, and indulged and all that good stuff, and woke up the next day feeling a bit worse for wear, but feeling good. Like those are the, making the most of the time, and yeah, that's pretty much where it kind of came together. I felt like I had the ammo after that night to go, all right, I can unpack this.
How long would it sometimes take for the, as you say, unpack a song? We can get that initial spark of an idea, and would songs sort of gestate for months, weeks, days?
There's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes an idea comes and it comes together very quickly, and other times it's you could be sitting on something and just not sure how to approach it. It's something you want to say. It's like important conversations. Sometimes you need to think about them for a little second and kind of step back and get your ducks in a row. And other times it's just that it just comes out.
Your current single, Small Talk. By the way, I love the video. The video looked like you're having a good laugh making it. Playing all the characters. Was that supposed to be all different sort of personalities, or it's about being awkward, isn't it, in social settings?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what the tune's about. The video, we kind of scratched our heads on that for a while, and all credit goes to Jamie Niche, who's been incredible videographer, and just really great at pulling concepts and things like that together. And it's no secret that I'm not the most comfortable in front of a camera doing these videos, so he's got a great way of kind of, I don't know, disarming me with some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. We were sitting down and he had thought, well, what about we just try to use all the different characters that we've used for the videos so far, and we'll get them all around the table kind of talking to each other, but we'll have the here and now as the main one, and just having this kind of almost a multi-internal monologue kind of thing around the table. It was good crack. It was a lot of fun to pull together, and it's one of those ones where we were shooting it, I was kind of looking at Jamie going, how are you going to edit this together? This is massive, We're having to do each character so many times, and so yeah, he had a hell of a job in the sounds, but he was, as only Jamie does, he pulled it together.
Yeah, and there's some great videos which we'll get into for the album. And what's great is there's not many people making videos these days, especially in the local scene, and actually putting good thought into them, so it's quite refreshing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's not something that I, when I got into the music, doing videos for the songs was probably the furthest thing from my mind, but I have to say I've really come to really enjoy it and kind of embrace it and kind of play with the concept, mm-hmm. I've really enjoyed it.
And as we said, it's about feeling awkward in social settings, which is interesting, because you can stand in front of the stage or on the stage and in front of an audience of thousands of people.
Yeah, it's a running joke in our house. It's one of those things where, and I know that I'm not alone in this, but yeah, you ever get that where you're maybe in a social kind of environment and you kind of walk away from a conversation saying to yourself, why the hell did I just say that? Why did that come out of my mouth? And you go over it and over and over it. So yeah, it's a bit of a running joke as to what comes out of my mouth from time to time. Yeah, and I think it's kind of, trying to hold the mirror up to that.
So how do you know when the song is finished and it's time to let go of it?
I don't know. It's that thing with with everything I've ever released or put out. I'd love the opportunity to go back and do certain bits of it again. I think probably leaning on others. Like that was the really great thing about having the lads around me for this record was, when everyone's looking at each other, going, yeah, 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 this feels good. Got no changes. The mix sounds great. The mastering sounds cool. Um, there's a bit of camaraderie there, and it definitely helps to be able to step back and let it go. Because with Animal, it was just me myself. It was really tough because the whole project felt so, I don't know, internal and created during the pandemic and whatnot. And yeah, I was always scratching my head, going, "Is this done? Is this finished? Is that it?" So yeah, it's hard to know. I don't know if it's ever done. I just know I just have to get it out there.
And when I was talking about epic songs, what it mainly meant was Go Down Swinging. It's huge. With the nod to the Who I picked up in there, what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it's a song I wanted to write for Joni, my daughter, without getting into too much detail. She'd taken a bit of a knock to her confidence, and I wanted her to have a big old defiant anthem. She could scream out, and something to pick her up a little bit. Thankfully, she pulled me out of a hole and agreed to be in the video. I knew when the song came together, I kind of, in my mind, I thought, oh, it would be really great if she was in it. Whatever, if she was comfortable, if she wasn't comfortable, maybe just for a second, or back to the camera, just something, just a little kind of nod. But no, she was just, no, I'm going to be in it. I'm going to be the star. I want to be the whole thing. I was like, yes. There's
And she
another video.
was.
Yeah, she was. She absolutely nailed it. She aced it. Yeah, couldn't be prouder. And we had so much fun pulling it together. It was great. It was a great day.
Yeah, she was absolutely fantastic. There's a wee star in the making there.
Yeah, I reckon so.
So what song on the album means the most to you?
It's tough. I mean, they all mean a lot. I think Backyard, probably the most reflective, kind of talking about childhood upbringing and, the idea that certain objects and things and sights and smells and sounds can transport you back to a time and place. So it was an interesting one going through that and kind of um, personifying those things that just, transport you right back. And how those just everyday things are attached to people. And in that case, it was, my folks and my brother and my sisters. So it was, that one holds a lot of weight for me.
No, I was actually going to talk about that song next, actually, because I could relate to that. As you get older, you do spend more time reflecting on small things, songs and stuff like that. And as you say, smells, places just come into your head, and it does take you right back. So I could really relate to that song.
Yeah, it was a good one to write. I enjoyed sitting down and thinking about those things that kind of let your mind wander back.
In the current industry landscape, the music industry, how do you approach the release of an album now? Especially in terms of connecting with your current fan base and attracting new listeners.
I'm not sure. What was the right way to do it a month ago is probably the wrong way to do it now. It seems like it's constantly changing, constantly evolving, and there's a large part of me that wishes social media didn't have just as much, of a say in the whole conversation. But it's everybody keeps saying it's a necessary evil. Some people are really good at it. I've never felt that comfortable doing it personally. Maybe it's something I'll grow into, but I feel like I've been saying that for 15 years. um, yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm really not sure. I still think that getting out and playing live in front of people, it feels like it's the last thing that they haven't digitized, is an ass on a seat and getting on a stage and trying to connect with somebody in that in that moment. I've certainly seen the dial move more doing that than I have, in other areas.
Well, that is the good thing. As much as, people aren't banned music as much now, a lot more people seem to be going out to see live shows.
Yeah,
It's
still there, which is great.
And you'll be doing it again in June when the album's released. You'll be doing your own headlining tour, which finishes off in Belfast Limelight. So how much are you looking forward to it?
Really looking forward to it. I mean, it's that. I mean, we started cutting this record August last year, and I don't know how many months ago that is. I'm terrible with miles and counting back, but
ages ago.
Ages ago, and it's like the end of that journey for me personally when I'm putting these songs together is I always have that picture in my head of staring down the barrel of a microphone and singing the songs out on stage. That always feels like the end point of the whole thing. So in that regard, it's been a long time in the making. I can't wait to get on stage and see what happens. Play these songs with the band and play with my friends
and finish in the Limelight. Great venue.
Yeah, killer venue. Sounds great. Feels great. I know it's one of those venues. I got the chance to play it there. And I think it was Limelight 2 only a few months back as part of the BBC live sessions that they did. And that was the first time I'd ever played in the Limelight, and it's really strange. Like I've seen a bunch of music there, but it's one of the only venues that I haven't been up on stage doing something at. So it's going to be a moment for me personally getting up on that stage and seeing what these songs do live.
And you'll be supporting some great acts. There's been some good ones announced. Damien Dempsey at the Ivy Gardens.
Yeah.
James Blunt, and then I heard today Starsailor.
Yeah. It's shaping up to be a crazy busy time of it throughout the summer. And the support stuff, I absolutely love it. The chance to play to somebody else's crowd and try to win them over, it's a bit daunting at times, because, for the majority of people there, they're there for one reason and one reason only. They bought the ticket, their hard-earned cash for the name that's at the top of it. So, when you got 20, 25 minutes to try to make your mark and leave something behind. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good fun.
Do you have a favourite performance or venue that sort of stands out in your memory that was special to you?
I got the chance to open for Bonnie Raitt last year, which was mind blowing. I grew up listening to Bonnie Raitt. Always held her in such a just high regard as songwriter, vocalist, guitar player. She's always been this kind of mystical figure in my mind, and she, out of the blue, I got a call to say would I like to go on the road with her, and I was just beside myself. I couldn't believe it. So Pete and I went out and we played it as a two-piece opening up the show. Some killer venues. I mean, there wasn't a bad venue. They were all great, but one that sticks in my mind was the London Palladium. Just because it's so iconic, it's so historic, and walking out on stage, London Palladium, pin drop silence, and singing some songs. I can remember we finished and we walked off stage and we got under our dressing room, and Pete and I just sat in silence for a minute. Just the weight of the whole thing was just insane. It was a really special night. It'll stay in my mind for a long time, I'm sure.
You've released 2 studio albums prior to the new album. So can you tell me briefly what comes into your mind when I mention each one? So we'll start obviously with number 79.
A real time and place. I don't know how many years ago that is. But I was working out in Nashville an awful lot and had been for a long, long time. And I think I was just surrounded by Americana. That was what I was writing at that period of time for other artists and for different things. And I came home and made a very Americana influenced record in my house. And pulled some friends together, flew a couple of friends in, and we cut it right before Christmas. Turned the house upside down. I can remember Joni running around. She was She was no height. And with cables running all over the house. We turned the living room into like a sort of control room of sorts. And the front room was turned into a bit of a live room. Chaos, I think, is the word that comes to mind with that one, because it was so chaotic, pulling it all together, but also really enjoyable.
What did the neighbours think?
I had to knock the door before we started. I just say, hey, by the way, we'll try to stop at 5. They were great, actually. They were so gracious and so understanding and accommodating, and yeah, they were great. We're very lucky in that regard. And
what can you tell me? What comes into your head when it mentions Animal? You did speak a wee bit about it, I suppose, at the start.
It was like, I feel like it was for me, like a major pivot. It feels very much post, like Nashville, post Americana. I was coming to the end of a deal where that's what I was doing. I was writing for Round Hill Music, and I was a lot of country, trying to get country cuts and do that whole thing. And I was ready for a change. I was ready to focus a little bit more on what I wanted to say as an artist, and not what I thought other artists wanted to say. So yeah, I came home, and the timing of it was just so strange. It was right at the gates of COVID. The world shut down, and I turned the console on, and I had some ideas and some songs kind of hanging around in the background, and I started pulling that record together, and I was listening to different stuff at that time as well. I was listening to more synth-based stuff. I was really curious about that, and I felt really inspired by a lot of that music. So I wanted to see what would happen, pulling in some of those sounds into the song. So I feel like it was the first kind of middle finger up to what I had been doing.
Well, you've completely reinvented yourself with each of your albums. I mean, because even this new album completely sounds different from Animal.
Yeah, it's fun. I try to. I think you have to wear your influences on your sleeve, and it's what keeps me interested and keeps me kind of focused and charging ahead. And I mean, never say never. There could be a jazz album. You never know. Yeah, it keeps it fresh. Keeps me digging. Keeps me interested in it.
I'm going to put you on the spot. If people want to understand the music of Gareth Dunlop, what are the 5 songs they should listen to?
Wow, that's a tough one. My goodness. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go with the current record, because it's these are the current feelings. Naive, Small Talk, Church, Go Down Swinging, Just in Case. I think that'll give you a pretty good glimpse into where my head's at the minute.
Class. But we'll talk about Devil Like You. It's your most streamed song on Spotify. Why do you think that song has caught people's attention?
Simply because it got synced. It got put into a couple of big TV shows and a movie, and it just had that. It had that exposure. It had that chance. It was a massive catalyst for that song. I mean, the song. I think I wrote it. It was a quick song to get written. I really wasn't sure what it was. It was like, oh, that's kind of funky. It's kind of dark. It's kind of quirky. I turned it into my publisher at the time, and the next thing I know, it had ended up in Lucifer, the TV show. I couldn't believe it, and all of a sudden there was a bit of heat on it, and people were streaming it and enjoying it, and I couldn't believe it. So I think certainly without those things lining up, without those amazing opportunities and being just lucky, it probably wouldn't be sitting at that many streams. In fact, I'm sure it wouldn't be.
Yeah, singing's a big thing nowadays, isn't it? Like,
it is huge. I can't tell you how many artists I've discovered off the back of watching something and being like, "What's that? Who's that? That sounds amazing."
Get Shazam out.
Exactly. So to have that chance is it's amazing. It's just it's pretty cool. Very lucky.
I like to ask my guests the following questions, and these are different from the last time I spoke to you.
Okay.
For us music fans, music is the soundtrack to our memories. What song or album, when you listen to it, brings back the best memories for you?
Okay. Too many. I'm going to go with Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan. I am 15, maybe 16. I'm in the attic at my parents' house, having a cigarette out the window, cheeky cigarette I shouldn't have been doing. And I've just discovered that record, and it's blowing my mind, absolutely changing my existence. Before that album, it was guitar stuff I wanted to play, you know, Jimmy Page, Van Halen, Hendrix, it was all that stuff. And then I remember looking at the cover and going, that looks kind of cool. I know the name Bob Dylan, yeah, it's kind of that icon thing, and I stuck it on. Changed everything. I was okay, I want to know how to do that. I want to know how to write. That's so cool.
Apart from the best of Bob Dylan, that there album and Desire are the only Dylan albums I own.
Desire's a cracking record, yeah.
Love it. If you could go back and relive one musical moment from your career, what would it be so far?
Wow. Relive.
Maybe experience it again, or maybe go back and change some.
Do you know, we lost Michael Rhodes this year, or last year. Incredible bass player out in Nashville. Legendary bass player. Played on so many incredible records and hits and all that. And I got the chance. He was on my first session that I ever did out there. It's him playing on bass on Fool's Desire and most of the Step Inside project and Near Z on drums. And Michael was just such a beautiful, beautiful man. An amazing musician and wonderful energy to be around. And I'd go back and play another session with Michael.
Nice. So what's your ambitions going forward, Gareth? What's next on the musical bucket list?
I'm not sure. I think with the new record, get it out in front of as many people as I can and play as many live shows as I possibly can, and give it a shot, and then figure out what the next album might look like, what it might feel like, and start trying out some more of that material. There's a lot of songs that didn't make this record for a lot of reasons. The vibe maybe just wasn't quite right. There's maybe a bag of 10, 12 songs sitting there that I'd love to go back in and open up again, reinvestigate, and see if there isn't a project there to be pulled together. So I think, as much of more of the same. I can just keep going. I keep doing it. I love it. I'm pretty terrible at everything else. So if I can keep this train going, I'm going to do that.
Happy days. Well, that's me done, Gareth. Is there anything you'd like to mention before we wrap up? Anything that's sort of coming up in the immediate future?
No, the immediate future looks like cold IPA and maybe a nice whiskey. That's in the stars tonight.
Lucky you. Well, I'll not be doing that until tomorrow night, and it'll be a Guinness.
Lovely.
But yeah, I've been really, really enjoying it. It's fantastic.
Nice one, Mark.
Fantastic album.
Really. But thanks for checking it out, and thanks for having me back on. And much appreciated.
No, well, I wish you all the best with it. And I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully next time we'll be speaking about your jazz album.
Exactly. Who knows?
Brilliant. Well, Gareth, thanks again, and enjoy your Friday night and your whiskey. And
thanks, man.
Have a good one, mate.
Have a good weekend. Cheers.
You too. Cheers, bye.